Time is short indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ellison Cruz, and this is the final fight against the last Shadow of the Colossus. And not last Shadow Puppets, despite everything the physics this game has would lead you to believe. At long last, we've made it to the end of the game, and everything comes down to this. And let me tell you something. This is somewhat bittersweet, having made it this far, but obviously it needed to happen at some point or another. So our final arena is at the southernmost tip of the map, and it's a fair ways off, so we have a little bit of time for some chit-chat. We can hang out and ride on the back of greatness here and just enjoy the beauty that this game has to offer while we still can. Something I did want to explain a while back is that from the very beginning of the game, you have been able to explore every area and fighting arena in the entire game. Now don't get me wrong, you still need to fight the Colossi in order for them to be there, but you can still, look around and explore, for better or worse. That is with the exception of this final gated off area. As we progress through the game, the corpses of the Colossi we defeat emit a beam of light that converges in the cloudy sky. Once we get a little further, I can probably show a better shot of that, but this last area can only be opened once the prior 15 Colossi have been felled. And once we progress beyond this gate, we will definitely be hitting a point of no return, and everything that you want or need to do will have to be accomplished before setting off for that final fight. So if you were working for, I believe it's called the Seeking Salvation Trophy, you would need to pray at all 25 shrines in the land, and the last one is actually beyond this gated area, so don't worry. If you have been going for that and you haven't unlocked it yet, you're not going crazy. Not yet, at least. But interestingly enough, a lot of the trophies in the PS4 remaster are a little bit easier to get in comparison to the PS3 ones. And the trophies that are similar, like for defeating each Colossus or beating the game, actually have different names for them, which is kind of bizarre, but cool that they weren't copy and pasted, But, whew. Let me just say, though, even though I did have to play through this game that I was already incredibly familiar with again for the past, 20, 25 hours, it was so worth it. I still loved exploring and trying out new strats for the battles. It's still an incredibly good time, and even though this visage doesn't really do the game's visuals much justice, it is still so good. Also, I will say that I'm really glad I waited 4 years from the remaster's release to get back into this project. The muscle memory was still there, surprisingly, despite the completely overhauled control scheme, which is still pretty wonky, I have to admit. And even though there is only a grand total of like 100 people that will ever watch this, I'm glad I came back to it. And I think someone back in 2017 said something to the effect of, wondering if I was going to finish. And, well, here we are. You're still around after all these years. But as we approach the gate, we need to stand at the center of the pedestal and use the light of the sword that killed 15 Colossi and converge it into the center. Have it, folks. The way forward is opened, and I gotta say, this is kind of a good example of how much the lighting in this game has improved. Going through some of the caves or otherwise places that aren't completely being beaten down by the sun, they really did a good job of reining it back and not having the lighting be so harsh or bloomy. Because I was looking through a lot of the older footage of this game, it's like a 150 gigabyte folder just burning up a spot on my hard drive, and it just looks so washed out in comparison to this. It is insane. I implore you, just take a look, man. But we're gonna go ahead and take a quick save at the shrine, because if for whatever reason I have to redo the fight, I am going to have to restart from the Shrine of Worship, which I would rather not have to do. But we'll see how that goes, because this is actually probably on the easier scale of Colossi to defeat, in my opinion. Not even in time attack is it really all that challenging, but it is incredibly cinematic and kind of hard to navigate. So what we need to do here is take one running start with aggro. and then it's the beginning of the end of the rest of our lives. Aggro, our dear beloved friend that we set off on this mission to accomplish from the very beginning. It falls on us to finish the fight for Aggro. Even though I don't think that she necessarily had any stakes in this race necessarily and just wanted to do whatever the heck we wanted to do. I'm not sure, but god damn, that is depressing. And as you could have imagined, this is indeed a point of no return. And even if you tried to go back, I'm sure that you would most likely fail. It would not go well for you. But in a sort of difference between the rest of the game, it's now begun raining. And unfortunately, this game still does suffer from the, wet surface curse and not being able to see anything in the heat of battle, but it is still incredibly beautiful while it's storming, and it's just very cool to witness, unless you're playing on the PS2 version, in which case it's still very hard. But the final fight awaits, and we just have to go through like a short platforming sequence. It really isn't all that bad to go through. It's pretty straightforward. But be prepared, because if you don't have a lot of health nor stamina, this could prove to be a little bit tricky. But as we climb up here, ladies and gentlemen, the finale begins. And so, ladies and gentlemen, behold the behemoth who is simply known as Malice. Even though he is completely immobile, he will barrage us from afar, and if you try to sprint straight towards him, you will get absolutely smoked. The idea is to sort of duck into these underground bunkers so we can advance and not worry about the fireballs he's hurling at us, and once we get out, we're gonna have to use a series of covers to avoid getting hit. Now, there is an extremely specific way you can juke your way across the battlefield and get to him faster, but we're not even going to worry about that right now. And believe it or not, when fighting off against him in time attack, you will have to start from the beginning of this area, which is a bit of a pain if you mess up the climb to his sole weak point on his head. So if done decently enough, you could probably zoom through this in under 2 minutes, because I've been able to do that in the past. But on the remaster time attack, you have 9.5 minutes on normal to defeat him, and 10 minutes and 45 seconds on hard. Again, the original is a little more forgiving because you still have 9.5 minutes on normal, but they give you 13 minutes on hard. And honestly, just getting to him is probably the most challenging aspect of this fight. But man, let me tell you something. This battle is iconic, and I think the lightning slows down the frame rate a little bit, so if you're playing on resolution mode, you might actually have a little bit of trouble going through this. But we're gonna go through over here, and this will take us to our next area. So he can still kind of see you from afar. It's a little scary, just the fact that he just knows where you are constantly. But yeah, this is incredible, and I can't believe we're already here again. I remember recording this too for the first time 8 years ago. So yeah, because the whole project I did within the span of a month. It's just been like crazy. Just now we're back to this point. So this is the final sort of stretch we have to go up against, and you want to watch out because he's going to really go multi-fire here, so go for that, and always dive to cover. There we go. Run for cover. There you go, Wander. And there we have it. We have officially crossed the battlefield, and the next segment of the fight begins. And now the time has come for us to scale the beast himself. And again, it's not really that hard. You just have to be careful because this, I don't even know what to call it, his armor around him has the tendency to sway, and Wander will just randomly fall over. Just kind of like think of it like tripping in Smash Bros. Brawl. It just seems to happen at random even after you just land after a small jump. He'll just fall over, so... basically what you want to do is just ascend from the backside. Yeah, I know I said that. And basically try to get to his mid-torso area. You can go all the way around and find some easier spots. I just find it's a little easier when you go straight forward, right? So let's climb up over here. And there are ways to sort of cheese this out a little bit too if you know his multiple minor weak spots. But we're going to have to kind of like... prick and prod him a little bit to make our way up. So once we get back here, let's go ahead, give him a spinal tap. And with that, he is gonna go and reach his hand behind, and this is the point where we can grab on to his hand, which he'll then bring a little bit forward. So at this point, let's try to make our way up to the top of his hand, and then you just gotta give him a little prick. There we go. So after a while, he will fling you, and if you're good enough, you can actually reach his head on that fling, but it's a little wonky, so we're gonna make our way over to his bicep here, do the same thing, and now he's gonna reach with his other hand. And this one's kind of hard to latch onto sometimes, so there we go. So same thing, get to the top of his hand, and then give him a little hit, but this time he's gonna jut his hand out, and now we use our bow and arrow to go for his shoulder. And same thing, he's gonna reach for it. At which point, ladies and gentlemen, the way to his sole weak point at the top of his head is available to us. So, let's go and take him out the old-fashioned way. Malice, my friend, I'm so sorry, but you gotta go down.
Vamos, Hemo! Horridorani. Nos crude adverb. Parehum formulas ilicum ad hoc. Abantuga ro. Yuondik yorar aula ulunka. Yakumku aik isif. Irom de cake lutu. No sus if kafti wo. Was I latiku? Ik was eu. You want to lie, Luludo? Look at the law, you. You must almost rude. Akif. What is I don't conquer? All is your could do.